newsletter. I'm going to cover some highlights of February 2023. I'm going to add a little bit of more definition to the concept of recession, list out some new projects that are being expected for 2023, talk about the Russia-Ukrainian war, and add a little bit of fun section where I talk about an oil scandal. So the highlights, we have slowing inflation and raising optimism that the Fed can pull back from aggressive monetary tightening. There is a cryptocurrency firm Genesis that has cut 30% of its workforce in a second round of layoffs in less than 6 months and is considering filing for bankruptcy. Crypto-related deposits have plunged 68% in the fourth quarter. So one of the terms that are being used is that the crypto land is a bagel land. And now I'm going to introduce the concept of recession. So first, a formal definition for a recession is that the economy goes through 2 consecutive negative quarters, that is, 2 consecutive quarters of shrinking growth. Okay, so you have the economy getting smaller. What actually happens is that consumer spending decreases, that is, the household sector spends less, and the buying power decreases. Okay, so let me just try and tell you how the recession, that is by consumer spending decreasing, how it can cause the ripple effect, also known as the multiplier effect. So suppose you are used to paying a certain sum of money to go on holiday in a hotel. And since you're decreasing your consumer spending, you decide not to go to the hotel. So what will happen is that the income of the hotel is going to decrease, and consequently the people employed by that hotels, like the cook, the carpenters, that is the person who are used to cater for your room service and for your food, their income will also decrease. So this will create a ripple effect, also known as a multiplier effect, which makes that you have a recession. Okay, so there are a lot of indicators to detect a recession. For example, you have you watch the stock market, you watch house prices. But eventually somebody came up with something which I find really funny, which is by Alan Greenspan, is that he detects a warning plight of a recession by using spending on men's undergarments. So if men spend less on undergarments, it is predicted that there is a warning plight of recession. Now, if you ask me why did he choose undergarments, that is pants and socks, it's because those are the basic stuffs that men would usually not really care about. I think this is why he came up with this idea. I have a little issue here, so I'm just going to minimize this. And the largest recession that has occurred, it had occurred post World War I, that is Britain emerging from World War I, so therefore it had to stop producing gunpowder, guns, and all those warfare materials, and stop producing warfare materials and concentrate on the production of cotton, iron, and steel, that is things that he used to produce before. And what happened is that the Bank of England was raising interest rates to bring inflation down, and that caused an overshooting. Okay, an overshooting, and hence caused a recession. Okay, so people What really happened is that after World War One, people were actually feeling very happy, very with huge confidence that Britain had actually won the war. So therefore, in order to decrease their buying power and to bring inflation down, the Bank of England had risen interest rates, causing an overshooting. Okay, so what did occur following that is that America produced what Britain was not being able to produce: cotton, iron, and steel. And the cotton mills and factories struggled, causing a close down and unemployment, and this caused a huge recession in England. So, what can be done to prevent the shock? Because we're talking about recession concern at the start of 2023, because what we see is that the government is raising interest rates to bring inflation down. So, there is a huge risk of having a recession. So, when we talk of the decrease in household spending, we should take it as a seesaw, whereby on one side you have household spending, and on the other side you have government spending and taxes. So, therefore, if you are decreasing the household spending, you need, on the other hand, to increase government spending and also to cut taxes. Now we talk of the new projects lying up for 2023. You have the Mercedes-Benz planning to install its own network of chargers. So this is one of the few major companies after Tesla to invest directly in chargers. And we have the OpenAI in talks for a tender of a tender offer valuing AI research lab that is making OpenAI one of the most valuable US startups in recent history. You have venture capital firms in talks to buy the shares of a tender offer. OpenAI is led by technology investor Sam Altman with the goal of pursuing artificial intelligence research for the benefit of humanity. So, talking about investing in startups, it's good to note that, as per Warren Buffett, when he was younger, he used to, he bought a book to learn stock trading and technical analysis. The result was that he completely misunderstood the fact, and I think he made losses because he misread or misunderstood things. And what he did, on the other hand, is that he started investing in businesses because first, contrary to stocks, businesses can be resilient, can be strong enough to resist shocks, whereas the stock market is extremely volatile and builds itself upon consumer sentiment. And you have the Russian-Ukrainian war here. So sanctions imposed on Russia by the EU are not sufficient to weaken the economy, because the EU has imposed sanctions that are supposed to weaken the economy through an embargo on petrol in European countries. But is this really working? The Russia has proceeded with the creation of the cargo phantom to transport clandestine petrol. So this strategy was formerly used by countries like Iran or Venezuela, who were also impacted by those sanctions before. Alors, the cargo phantom, what it does, it's an old ship which is supposed to carry the petrol in a clandestine way. Yes, they have found an insurance company that will insure their boats, their ships, without really making any mention of them. And so the sanctions imposed are not really serving their purpose. So Russia is also relying on the rise of energy prices to compensate for the imposed sanctions. There is a fiscal deficit in Russia, which is starting to make it suffer. So Russia is in recession due to lowest industrial production in car industry also. Now we reach a fun section whereby I talk of the salad oil scandal, which was the worst corporate scandal of the 1960s. So what did it consist of? So first, the banks would make loans secured by the New Jersey-based Allied Crude Vegetable Oil comp- company, um, and it would make those loans mm, by seeing the amount of oil that you have in stock. Okay, so what the company did, it filled the containers with water with just a few feet of oil on the top layer. So nobody thought of the concept that oil floats on water. And so when inspectors came, they always confirmed positive that the tanks were filled. So there was purchase of soybean oil futures contracts, increasing the price of soybean oil, allowing the company to make money off its futures contracts. This fraudulent scheme had reverberations throughout the financial markets, leading to bankruptcies, liquidations, loan losses, and mergers. The mastermind behind was named Anthony De Angelis, a commodities trader and Allied founder. Consequently, he served 7 years in prison for fraud and conspiracy. So, the conclusion that I have chosen for the February newsletter is that slowly and steady wins the race. By an unknown author, you can get inspired from the story of the tortoise and the hare. Yeah, that's all for the February newsletter. Keep watching for the March newsletter. I'm thinking of adding a more unique content in the March newsletter. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you until the next video.